Hi everyone, it's Mish here from the Hungry Wanderlust. Thanks for having me with you all today. I just want to say thanks again for stopping by. Please hit the like button down below if you have a moment. And before we get started, just want to say thanks everyone for bearing with me while I've been super tired. I'm sure you can tell I have my caffeine today, I have my sleep today, I am mentally recharged, I am physically here, and it's great because I'm going to do a comparison today of Trader Joe's mochi cake versus what I consider to be a relation, Filipino Bibingka. So if you don't know what Bibingka is, it is a type of rice cake that I would say is similar to mochi cake. If you see me staring downwards, I'm actually staring at the TJ Mochi Cake mix. It's right next to the camera, so I'm a little looking that way. But it is delicious, the Bibingka. I've never had the TJ's mochi cake. We're going to see what this is like side by side. This came to me when a friend talked about how great this mochi cake is and how much she also has enjoyed when Trader Joe's brought out the ube pancakes. And I was curious because at the end of the day, mochi cake is inherently Hawaiian, but there is a lot of cultural influence from Japan and the Philippines, as well as a medley of other cultures that have come and made new things within Hawaii and made, Hawaiian culture what it is today. That's usually how food culture develops and changes with time. I can think about Sichuan peppers and, at some point, peppers from West Americas. Things like peppers, which originally came from the Western Hemisphere, traveled from South America and spread out to the rest of the world. At some point, different cultures actually considered, peppers within food to be strange, new, and then now, pepper is flavor, pepper is spice. I actually have the Peppers of America's book that I am trying to read through right now because it's great. I know I've talked about it in my blog, about one of the 5 books I would definitely recommend anyone who loves learning about food, loves learning about food history to talk and read through because it's amazing. It's just great. But that's not what we're here for today. We're here for mochi cake. So let's get started. Okay everyone, since I'm doing a comparison, I would be remiss if I didn't actually have this box here with me and also make this. I probably will just show you the finished result, but I will read off the ingredients list, not the ingredients list, the additional ingredients you need to add in here with this mix to actually make the mochi cake, which is another reason why I'm like, let's make bibingka, because if you get all these ingredients, you might as well just get the dry ingredients and make some bibingka too. But I also understand glutinous rice flour or mochiko is not always accessible for people, so I do see that this still has added benefits depending on where you live. So, based off this box, you need 1 box. You need 1 cup of room temperature water, 2 large eggs, 4 tablespoons of salted butter. If you don't have salted butter, like I only have a ton of Costco unsalted butter, you're going to need 1/4 teaspoon of salt mixed in with 1 stick of unsalted butter. That gives you your ratios, and then just measure out from there what you need in this case. And 1 baking pan, 8 by 8 inches greased. All right, I'll show you what this looks like finished because you basically mix everything together. I find this interesting. You bake this for 45 minutes to 50 minutes at 350 degrees. Most bibingka and mochi cake recipes that I saw, and I cobbled one together, so if it's bad, I'm not gonna share the recipe in the blog, but you can watch today and see how that goes. Most actually recommend just baking it for 20 minutes. I don't know if it has to do with the freshness of the ingredients or the anticipated size of this, because most mochi cakes probably still are pan size this size, but they still say about 20 minutes is all you need. I'm going to use these guys to bake the bibingka in because I don't have the traditional what they would call mold tins. You could also use muffin tins. That works about the same. Just recognize the smaller your size, you might want to check it earlier on because smaller dimensions means it will bake faster. But enough about this and enough about talking about it. Let's actually get to making it. Okay, ingredients used today for the bibingka. 1 egg, 2 tablespoons butter. Again, if you only have unsalted like I do, it is the ratio of all of this, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I don't know why I'm telling you this, we don't need that. Rice flour, preferably a mochiko type. So glutinous rice flour is a type of mochiko flour. This will be 1 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup of milk. I'm cheating and using heavy whipping cream because it's -2 out and I love y'all, but it's too cold, so I recognize this is going to be fattier than regular bibingka. 1/2 cup and 2 tablespoons of sugar. That actually equates out to 10 tablespoons if you really want to reduce your dishes, but somehow increase the amount of time it takes for you to prep things. 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 cups of coconut milk, preferably from canned because you want your full fat coconut milk. All right, let's see how this goes. And for those of you familiar with bibingka, you're probably wondering, where are my toppings? Where are my banana leaves? I would love to have banana leaves. Trust me, I would love banana leaves. However, that just wasn't logistically possible. I know it adds to the ambiance. There is the aroma, there's a slight flavor that imparts on it, but I don't have that. So it's really nice to have, especially culturally. I know bibingka is typically a treat. I know I love it. It's made a lot for around Christmas times and around masses. And then additionally, there's usually some type of cheese or salted egg put on top because both cheese and the salted egg impart a slightly savory, salty note to keep the flavors really fresh and really just make it irresistible, especially combined with the slight rice and the slight butter. But this is what we have today. I do recognize it is a deviation from the super traditional form, also making it in an oven and not making it on, you know, the fancy clay pot tools that are made for this. So recognize that this is probably a modern variation here. Okay, actually gonna get to mixing things now. Okay, we're going to put in the 10 tablespoons, which is the same thing as 1/2 cup and 2 tablespoons of white sugar, and cream it with the butter. No, you don't have to do this by hand. I just really felt rustic today. I know I have my KitchenAid. You can also use the electric mixer, but here we are. Once that's incorporated together, you can add in your milks. Again, this is 1/4 cup of milk and then 3/4 cup of coconut milk. Interestingly enough, when I called up my mom telling her I wanted to make bibingka, she's like, "Oh, that's great. Your Lola made all of these things." But I didn't learn how to make any of them. So this ended up being a very interesting conversation about all the baked goods that both my Lola and Lolo used to make together that my mom never learned how to do, which is nothing wrong with that. But I find it ironic that every single thing I love is the things that they made, and they never personally made these for me. I do remember my grandfather though, once I was making siopao at home on winter break in high school, he was so proud. So freaking proud, and I don't know, just a little nugget of goodness right there. Okay, I'm gonna go put this away because I don't have a place to put this down and then actually get to continuing the incorporation. Also, you'll recognize this does not take up the full can of coconut milk, so if you're someone who is in need of suggestions of things to do with it, you can always make chia seed pudding with it. You can make curries with it. Coconut milk is nice. I mean, coconut milk is nice and everything. But you're going to want to mix this until there are no more lumps, as you saw from me incorporating the butter and the sugar together. It is a little bit lumpy. This probably would still be lumpy even if it was with a KitchenAid. It just would be less physical effort on my part. Once you have this all taken care of, then you can add in your egg in a separate container. I'm going to use this one. You can put your dry ingredients in here. You're going to want to sift them together so it's already incorporated, and much like with cookies, add in batches into here. Also, let me know in the comments, do you prefer me when I'm more low energy? Do you prefer me when I'm properly caffeinated? But just like I said, I'm doing this for fun, but it's genuinely more fun when other people enjoy it as well. Okay. Have everything, dry ingredients mixed together, and slowly gonna add this in. One of the nice things too, as you may have noticed, this recipe includes 0 gluten. This is entirely rice flour. You can find some recipes that use regular flour in here as well to offset the texture difference from having it freshly made in the Philippines. The reason why I say this is because in the Philippines, traditionally this is a fresh milled rice that is added in here and lightly fermented. There are regions of the Philippines that actually really covet the fermented flavor notes. It does do things to the texture as well. So depending on where you're from, you know, you want to replicate the nostalgia, you want to enjoy things that remind you of home. So some people will add in a little bit of flour to get that bounce in, or even some yeast in our case to get the rise. We're using the baking powder. I really wanted to stick to the rice flour only, and as you'll see, this will continue to be mixed until there are no lumps. And it is supposed to be a very wet batter. So this looks correct. It might be a little bit too thick, so I might add in, no, it's fine, okay. See, it's usually pretty wet. If yours is coming out a little bit dry, you can either add in a smidge more of one of your milks or add in an extra pat of melted butter. I would just say it depends on what you're really looking for. If you want a smidge more rise, add in some milk. If you want a smidge more coconut, add in some more coconut. If you want a smidge more butter, which I mean, that's probably one of my favorite parts is how the butter and rice interplay into here. Add more butter. But I think we're good. So I'm going to pour these into our muffin molds. You can see I'm extra silicone molds. This, if you don't, just grease it. Use a muffin tin, the non-reusable ones at worst. Then you want to fill this about halfway up the height. See how this goes? Because this will puff up. You will bake this for a total of about 20 minutes. I will say though, if you are going to be traditional and add in the cheese or the salted egg, you are going to want to add that in the last 5 to 10 minutes. And there's nothing wrong with pulling it out and adding it in. I'm making a mess here, but you know what? This is who we are today. If you want to have the salted egg but can't find any near you, you just need to make a brine, put it in raw shell on eggs, and have it sit in that brine for about 2 to 3 weeks. You can check in around 2-week mark by hard boiling the egg or jammy boiling the egg and seeing how the flavor is. If it's not salty enough for you, let it keep going. If it is, then you have your salted eggs. You can take them out and keep them. In the Philippines, they actually dye the shell of the egg to mark that it is, this is gonna totally overflow, to mark that it has become a salted egg and not be a regular egg, because I mean, appearance-wise, it still looks like an egg. So you are expecting to have a delicious fried egg and you fry a salted egg. Cool, expectation and reality are very different things. But okay, I'm gonna get this batch in as soon as the oven is actually ready. I think it's almost warm enough, but since I don't have any special ingredients to add in here, I'm gonna put this in for the full 20 minutes, clean up a little bit, and start on the Trader Joe's mochi cake. And yeah, see you in a bit.
Okay, it's been 40 minutes. Mochi cake's out of the oven. It takes another 20 for it to cool. Took way more steps than I thought it would, but we'll compare it in a moment.
Still a little warm, but it took like an hour to make the Trader Joe's mochi cake, and then here's Bibingka. I made a mini one. Flavor-wise, Bibingka mochi cake has that gooiness. I'm gonna say that bounce. If anything, this is a little bit more gummy, and that could be from, I believe there's dextrose in the blend. But otherwise, to me, it's exactly the same. So if you have rice flour and you want Bibingka or mochi cake, you can literally do it in half the time by scratch. Again, nothing against Trader Joe's. I just think given how flat all of this is and all the extra home steps that you have to make, you might as well make it from scratch. But again, I'm biased because Bibingka's great and Trader Joe's is kind of expensive for what it is. You have to put in all the most expensive ingredients yourself. But that's it for today. Thanks everyone. Stay hungry. Mish is out.